What is up? My name is Archaic to bring you a show match for StarCastTV. We're going to be watching two Korean players today. In the top left we have our white Terran player Byul, and in the bottom left our blue Protoss player Seok. These are two lesser known players. Byul has made the ASL back in Season 6, but unfortunately for him, he was knocked straight out of that tournament immediately. I think losing to Shuttle and a Zerg player who I can't quite remember the name of at this moment. Really strong player, but really not getting to showcase his skill in that tournament, unfortunately. He did win the ACS, and I think he was runner-up in another season, I think 2019. Runner-up or maybe top 4. So, a great player, sort of among the likes of Bishop, if you've watched Jin's translated video, and so kind of a contemporary. And so you can definitely get a feel for who Byul is in that interview of Bishop. We do see him dropping that very standard 11 barracks and likely going to be grabbing a gas any moment here. For the Protoss player, Seok, we don't see a gateway yet, and we see this probe running over to what I assume will be the natural, since he's dropping that pylon in the main. And we're actually going to see a 12 Nexus, which, I mean, as a Terran player, this is awesome. I feel like this build has really been solved. There's a great English sub of Flash talking with Nada, talking specifically about how many SCVs to pull. And if you haven't watched it, they really kind of conclude between 6 and 8 SCVs, kind of depending if the Protoss player is going up to 2 gateways and adding zealots to this defense. So we're going to have to see how does Seok prepare for the inevitable attack. It's also really important about when you scout this, and we see it looks like Byul just checking the center, but he is going to scout this first. So really fortunate for Byul, going to see this early Nexus, and he's going to be able to respond appropriately. Back in the Foreigner days of Idra loves to actually scout this before starting the machine shop, preferring to get vultures to apply that pressure. And so scouting this immediately, he's going to know not to add that machine shop and instead just start that vulture production. We see those Marines getting queued up, only 1 SCV on this gas, totally standard. And this Nexus is about to finish. Some probes getting mained over. We do see a 2-gate follow-up, which I think is totally standard. The 2-gate really, the hope would be able to hold if you're producing zealots out of these gateways, and we don't see that yet. So I'm getting a little worried about Seok's chances in defending what I assume will be an SCV pull. It really is, as long as you're scouting it. Yeah, we do see the Marines coming across the map right now, and there we go, SCVs getting pulled. It looks like he's pulled 6 SCVs, so that's what I would expect. We haven't seen any zealots out for Seok as of yet, and so 6 SCVs is going to be totally enough to force this cancel. It's really going to come down to the control of Seok. Is he going to be able to defend this? And I can't imagine he will. 2 goons on the way and goon range, and Seok scouts it actually, so that's going to be really important information. He's going to need to do something heroic here. What is he going to do? Pulling the probes. He's going to target fire this SCV. It looks like he will get it. And now, trying to get these SCVs in front, blocking those probes from the Marines. He gets another probe kill. And this bunker is going to get up. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Seok just abandoning the position. He really doesn't have the units. No zealots. Starting another bunker close to this ramp. Going to really prevent... Oh my goodness, he doesn't even finish the first bunker, feeling so confident. Pushing those Dragoons back. He does make 1 vulture. I'm curious if he's making a second or adding the machine shop. This Dragoon has lost all its shield. This bunker is going to get up, and this Nexus is done. Oh my goodness, playing so well. Byul just doing exactly what you need to do, and Seok really didn't have a plan to defend this Nexus, perhaps just hoping he gets scouted last. I should have mentioned this is Bubbles, which is kind of a Fighting Spirit remake. It's got a couple different features. We look at these twin ramps going from the space between the natural and the third into the center. So he has started that tank production and even getting mines, starting an engineering shop to be super safe. And yeah, Seok just sitting on these 2 gateways producing those goons. Byul's actually leaving some SCVs here, which is, I think, maybe unusual. These SCVs not doing too much here, and we do see those 2 vultures produced. As soon as those mines finish, likely to plant some mines, further delaying Byul's move out, having to wait for, yes, the robotics facility and observers. We see this SCV just scouting around. We see some Marines, and also this actually sending the siege tank. I wonder if this is maybe a misrally. Okay, we do see these SCVs repairing the bunker when that range finishes. So I guess this positioning of the bunker is incredible because only 2 goons can actually target this bunker, which means these SCVs are really going to be annoying. This bunker is not going to go down. We see those mines getting planted right now, the command center going down at his natural. And again, just look at this positioning from some units. Just units out on the map. This is a great Marine to scout anything like a shuttle be coming out from Seok. And we do actually see a shuttle getting produced, which makes a lot of sense. He's going to need to be able to flank this position. And the tank, oh my goodness, that mischance. Going to dive forward, get a couple shots on that tank. It is sitting at half health, but it looks like Byul is ready with the repair. Now dropping those mines right at the ramp. Oh my goodness, he does get one of them. And the engineering base finished. So Byul's in a great spot to transition. Command center is almost already finished, and so we're really seeing the balance of the scale completely flip. We saw Seok get that early nexus up well before Byul even thought about starting his own command center, but really not having the follow-up to defend. Really unfortunate. Look at this. So we're going to see some shuttle play ferrying these Dragoons out on the map, and it's going to be a lot easier for Seok to engage this really sort of fortified contain if he gets out on the map. Super important. A couple turrets going up. Actually, quite a few turrets. Totally interesting. Perhaps concerned about some kind of Dark Templar prey or something of the sort. But now Seok is moving out. These goons going to get scouted by this wonderfully placed Marine, and now Byul's going to know that Seok is out on the map. One of the things I would be worried about right now is if there's a Reaver in this shuttle. Obviously there isn't, but from Byul's perspective, he really doesn't know. Going ahead and unsieging that tank, actually falling behind and starting to build a wall. Look at this. Tank's positioned on the high ground, maybe a little vulnerable to that shuttle play. But Byul is sitting pretty as far as the main defense at this moment. Already siege mode done. Adding a couple more turrets into his main. And then here we go. We do see... Oh, no, that observer. Oh, and the... he saves the observer. So that's super important. Not losing that observer to the turret. Only 2 health left. So, a little shaky performance here from Seok. Almost losing that observer, and that would just be so devastating. The mine gets picked off just in time, so it doesn't actually go off. Still sitting on that 2-gate observer, and it looks like Seok is going to be able to secure his own natural. But look at how late it is. This base is almost fully saturated. We see about 14 SCVs. That's really what you want. Need a couple more for the gas. And now we see this observer just scouting around the map to see what's going on. A Marine running up to the north side, northeast, to check if there's any shenanigans going on from Seok. This is just such solid play from Byul. Definitely want to make sure we're checking those possible hidden expansions. Citadel of Adun now coming up, so it looks like Seok is ready to transition totally normally out of this, and even dropping a third already. So going for the quick second and third base to try and catch up. We see the probe count just, well, right now even, and the armory going down for Byul, ready to transition into the mid game of the Terran, rushing up to that 200 army. Vulture speed on the way. We do see that third command center getting finished, as well as the academy. This academy was quite delayed because he opted to get the engineering bay, which makes a lot of sense. In messy games, getting the E bay is really, I guess you'd think, the safe play. Just fortifying specific positions. Comsat a lot more flexible, but in sort of these muddy games where people are flinging mud at each other, getting that eBay is just going to make you feel so safe. Forge coming down, a fourth gateway now, adding some pylons to try and create a wall. I'm not sure if this completely walls in. It really doesn't look like it does, so we'll definitely see what happens later in the game if we see some vultures moving out and just some goons getting placed. Great positioning from these goons, likely to protect this ramp from any kind of vulture shenanigans. +1 weapons on the way, adding that third factory, and he's actually floating this command center out already. He definitely has enough SCVs to begin saturating that third, and so we're gonna have to see if Seok is ready to try and contest this third. It looks like he really is not, and he hasn't scouted it yet. We don't see an observer in the main at all. Maybe those turrets just being a little too annoying to get an observer in there. We're sitting at about 8 tanks here, and the speed vultures are now finished, so likely to get some map presence with these guys, running out, planting some mines. Seok is going to scout this, try to pick off a couple, but the vultures quickly run around. He is placing an observer here. This command center is finally going to get there, but these vultures are going to get intercepted by some goons, perhaps on move command actually. Oh, there we go. There's the attack, and these vultures actually running around to the left. These goons, oh my goodness, do you see this? Actually making a 4th and a 5th, but these vultures are completely free to run in here to the third base, and like 3, 4, 5 probes, even more going down so quickly. And now these goons are trying to run up this strange pylon wall, and oh my goodness, not one, well, precisely one probe left remaining at this base, and it looks, yeah, this wall isn't even dragoon tight, and he is going to get out of there, finding this was the twin bridges I was speaking about, and now these vultures are going to scout everything, seeing the 4th base. They're going to even see the 5th base. And so what does Byul want to do in response to this? This seems excessively greedy from Seok. Is he going to have enough troops to really defend this Max Terran push that's coming in a couple minutes? We see him just massing units, continuing to add to that factory count, and now getting the science facility, likely going to be starting +2 weapons any moment. These vultures are getting cleaned up at the 5th base, and we just see dragoons getting produced at this moment. Shuttle, couple goons inside. I assume zealot range is already finished, and we do see that arbiter tech coming up. +1 weapons almost finished for Seok as well. So the big question that we're going to need to see an answer is, how is Seok going to address this big problem that is coming from Byul? How is he going to deal with this maxed army? It looks like he perhaps wants to deal it with maxing over and over and over again, but if that's the case, he's going to need to have a ton of gateways. We see his probe count getting quite high at this moment, which means his maxed army is not going to be as large as it potentially could be. Looks like still producing some SCVs, which is maybe more than you want. 60, 70 SCVs is kind of where you want to stop. We see a ton of factories being added, and so Byul is going to get up to that maxed army any moment now. More probes being transferred to this 5th base, and here we go. Gateway explosion. So it looks like he wanted to get up to that arbiter tech and then follow with a huge gateway explosion. He is up to 9, 10 gates already, and perhaps even thinking about adding more in his 5th main. +1 done here. He has added that second armory for +1 vehicle plating. Starting to add vessels. That's so great. We do love to see that vessel count. Just a few vessels sprinkled into the mix of that maxed army. Gonna definitely help defend against arbiters and the potential of, recall coming out from Seok. Great placement from these observers, just seeing everywhere. I love this from Seok. Really going to see vultures trying to move out across the map and be able to reposition his goons accordingly. And yeah, this game is, there we go, 172 supply. This looks like how and when Byul wants to move out. Look at how careful he is around these bridges, sieging some tanks behind and sieging some forward as the rest of his army gets. He does snag one free goon from those forward tanks, and now Byul's ready to go, right? Planting mines along the center route. It looks like he wants to maybe take the left here. So many factories with 3 machine shops. He can reproduce this army quite quickly. More vessels being added, and just a few Goliaths sprinkled in. That's awesome. That's exactly what you want as a Terran player. Get get a few Goliaths. You really don't want to be adding them until later because of that gas cost. You want to delay them as late as possible and then just sprinkle them in to the maxed army. We do see these two armies sort of positioning here. It looks like this choke is actually maybe not the widest place for engage. Really relying on this wall is going to be so great for Byul. It's going to be hard for Seok to find a good engagement. Oh my goodness. Okay, never mind. I thought those Zealots didn't have leg speed yet, but Byul is saying he wants a fight, and Seok is having none of it, actually running up to the north side, perhaps just trying to delay. Look at this huge gateway explosion, so it looks like he does just need more time so that he can get a bank large enough to really re-max in a moment. He does have enough energy for one stasis, and he is just falling in this retreat, but Byul just completely unsieged, moving across the map. He does snag that vessel, which is so helpful, protecting that Arbiter. Oh my goodness, he is kind of in the state of permanent max now, creating so many units, but he really doesn't have an army here. Byul just moving forward. He does try a stasis, he gets a couple tanks, but he doesn't have an army to actually engage this at this moment, and Byul just running across the map. Now it looks like Byul has gotten the fight he wanted, which was really just an A move, and now he's going to encroach on Seok's 4th and 5th base. He does have this shuttle, which is going to be helpful to try to get some mine drops, but without sieging your tanks, these zealot drops are really not nearly as effective or cost efficient as they would be if the tanks are shooting themselves. And so Byul, yeah, here he goes, finally does siege up, but sieging up in range of that nexus, and these units just boom, blue goo everywhere. It is gone. What does he have back here? He does have a ton of gateways back home, so he is producing so many units back at home. He does have a good healthy dose of zealots here at the top of the ramp, but these tanks are getting positioned so well along this ridge and really just going to be able to take pot shots at these zealots. It's going to be so difficult for Seok to actually break this position. Such great positioning from these tanks all along the ridge, with those vultures completely blocking any zealots from being able to get up to the tanks. And now these tanks are going to start shelling the gateways, and if those gateways get taken out, the only production that will remain is at Seok's base. I have no idea what happened here. Perhaps he oh my goodness, I can't believe I missed this nexus going down. That is so brutal for Seok. He is adding another one over here at the 9 o'clock position, which is actually great crisis control, right? He's losing base after base, but he's still able to expand at this point, and Byul is adding his own 4th, even floating another command center, perhaps looking to take that center base, which is something that does happen on Fighting Spirit occasionally as a Terran player. This tank just here to kill all of the probes. Oh my goodness. Don't breathe the air. It is going to be probe dust. You need a mask. It's like a drywaller covered in blue probe dust, that tank. Dropping some EMPs. They're actually quite a reasonable force here now, countering, and these zealots getting on top of the tanks instantly. They're going to try and siege, but those tanks, boom, gone. So this small army, despite losing all of their shields, are going to actually kill the reinforcements out of Seok. So great, we do see these SCVs being transferred over here, and just picking up little engagements that he can. This base is just finishing, so now he's sitting on a 4th and a 3rd, but really not mining at the main anymore, so really just sitting on that 3 base. But at least he does have some income coming in. But oh my goodness, Byul, look at this. Still sitting maxed. His macro has been unbelievable this game. And how is Seok? He doesn't even have a stasis at this point. And oh my goodness, even deciding to siege. He really doesn't want to lose this army at this point in the game. But I think this is too much. Those Goliaths starting to take pot shots at this Arbiter. Still not at 100 energy. And some zealots and vultures, but basically only dragoons left out of Seok, and he is going to tighten the grip around Seok's neck, now crossing the bridge unhindered. And oh my goodness, this command center's landed. This command center, Byul's economy is going to be so much. Dropping mines along the flank, some zealots running into the tanks, but no, they are gone. Great stasis, grabbing 3 tanks, but that's it. Seok does GG. That game 1 goes to Byul on the map Bubbles, taking down that early nexus and then just transitioning into a great strong late game army. Let's jump over to game 2. In the top left, we have our red Terran player Byul spawning, and in the bottom left, we have our white Protoss player. This is on the map Clay Fields, which again, very similar to Fighting Spirit. It does have some high ground around the map in between the natural and the center, and also the center base is completely on high ground. So I imagine this map is going to be slightly Terran favored. We love those high ridge places just to put down some tanks and get great vision across the map, and it's really hard for a Protoss player to engage up those high grounds. Game 1 was really a showcase of how to react to a 12 Nexus. We saw him pull exactly 6 SCVs. He had the SCV scout in his base first, which is really important to see how many zealots is he adding. If they do add some more zealots, you want to be going up to that 8 SCVs when you pull. And just getting the bunker down. The incredible play that I haven't seen before is actually not finishing that first bunker, instead opting to get a second bunker and canceling the first one, so just saving some minerals. It's these tiny edges that these top players get, and that's something I definitely want to be thinking about in my own play. We do see that gateway getting dropped down on 10, as we would expect, and so we're definitely going to see a more standard game out of Seok, opting to get that gateway. And now this probe looks like it's going to scout the Terran first. So we do see that RNG now favoring our Protoss player and actually going for a forward barracks. We don't see the 12 gas yet, so it looks like it's Byul's turn to try and get a fast expansion. And fortunately for him, he is sending out that scout, so that's going to at least be able to defend this SCV from that probe, but this is so annoying from a Terran player. Every Terran wakes up nightmares of Bisu's probes just killing all of his SCVs. And look at this micro from... It looks like he's going to get this SCV. So annoying. Down to 10 HP already. This SCV's only taken some shield damage, but no assimilator for Seok. That's craziness. So actually, he's going to chase down this SCV, it looks like. Actually, looks like Seok wants that fast expansion. He is going to actually start with a couple zealots here. And it looks like he wants to get aggressive. We do see that gas get down quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit, but maybe a 13 gas. So it looks like he does want to take that expansion maybe before starting that factory. It's just going to be a little bit, the expansion is going to be a little bit earlier and the factory is going to be slightly later. But this probe is going to work on this SCV down to 1510. Oh my goodness, this is just a nightmare. The Marine does pop out and, oh, he does save the SCV at 5 HP. So fortunate for Byul, but oh my goodness, yes, this Zealot is almost at the base already. We do see that Nexus getting dropped in the natural of Seok, but it's all going to come down to this SCV. Look, bring out, come down to the Zealot running in, trying to get into the main. He's going to target some of these SCVs, trying to get on that high ground to be so annoying. We see some missed shots from those Gauss rifles, and now he's into the main. Oh my goodness, this is so annoying. Going to have to retreat to this nice safe harbor of the barracks and the supply depot on the right side, and now whacking away at these SCVs. It looks like the second Zealot is about to arrive, and this is going to be really annoying for Byul. These Zealots just targeting the Marines, and the Marines having to run around, and oh no! 2 Marines down already for Byul, and we see this Zealot target firing that SCV trying to build a factory, and the factory is going to be delayed, and then he kills the Marine over here as well. These Zealots are paying for themselves in gold. Oh my goodness, one of them is about to go down. This Marine is retreating, trying to get behind that safety wall, and now he's going to have to produce a Vulture. And as a Terran player, producing a Vulture is kind of always annoying. You really don't want that Vulture. You want that machine shop early. But perhaps this Vulture is actually going to be pretty good against Seok because he doesn't have any goons yet, delaying that goon technology until getting that expansion down. Vulture has finished already, and we're likely going to see him dropping a machine shop any moment now. There it goes, and he is just chasing this one annoying Zealot. 2 kills on it. Gonna try and take some swipes at these Marines. Oh, that Marine flipping pathing is so annoying, deciding to run right into the Zealot and gets knocked down. So probe count, SCV count, 23 to 19, so definitely a build order advantage out of Seok, and this is such an interesting build actually. I love it. Just being aggressive, not something I really have seen at all, but what a great way to expand with that aggression. And it is such a fast expansion. That Dragoon is coming out just in time to ward off this Vulture harassment. And this command center is only about a quarter done. So this opening really favoring Seok, and we're going to have to see what does BL do to really turn this game around. Again, favoring getting mines first, which is really what we do these days, and just continuing with that Vulture production. I guess wanting to get some forward mines. Considering that Seok has really given up the map presence, mines are going to be so great at Byul, just trying to maintain that map presence and delay any kind of attacks from Seok. He is moving out though, so he does want to gain some map presence. We see this pylons beginning to form a wall here, that second assimilator getting dropped down, and we do see a bunker coming down for Byul. Wants to be safe behind that just in time, and now some vultures going to be able to run around. Yeah, taking some pot shots, taking some damage on their hulls, and Seok just trying to prevent this, but it looks like these vultures will be annoying and plant some mines in between. Yeah, both vultures actually make it out. They have barely any health though, so look at this. Seok bringing over a probe and just walling in completely. Probably just there temporarily until these Dragoons finish up. Seok is going to poke at the front. I assume range is finished at this point, so he will be able to outrange this bunker and cause Byul just to have to waste some of those precious minerals repairing until he gets that tank out. Oh no, my goodness, actually producing a starport. So this is a, I guess a really common opening nowadays. Opting to get a starport, you can get the Wraith to defend against some kind of shuttle play, and you can get a dropship to ferry these vultures into the main. I guess what's important is we see, yeah, vulture speed going down as his second upgrade. So going to be able to perhaps get some vultures into the main. If we look at this main, it's actually a lot of space that these vultures can run around. So it can be really annoying with that Vulture ass, but oh, does get some SCVs with that Mine Dragon. He is diving on this tank. Oh my goodness, 6 HP. It does go down, losing a Goon and a Zealot and about half of his health for this Dragoon, but resetting that tank count is so annoying as a Terran player, especially one that's going for a starport. He just has so few units, and he's going to have to really rely on the harassment pulling Seok back into his main so that Byul can have any kind of map presence, because he certainly won't have any kind of army anytime soon. The academy now going down, and you can notice how late this academy is, and that's really just because he knows what's going on with this expansion. What he's seen is the expansion, and so he knows he can cross off something like Dark Templar from his database. This observer does see the dropship, so this is going to be so annoying. He's going to be able to position these Dragoons in great positions to stop this dropship, but oh my goodness, they don't have vision at this moment. These goons sitting into ambush. They're going to dive on top of that dropship instantly, and he is going to get the dropship, but these vultures are planting mines, and look at all this space in the main. So annoying. These vultures running around, but look at this wall. Oh my goodness, he's created a completely vulture-tight wall, even stopping at this bottom. Great play from Seok. Look at this base. This is amazing, perhaps anticipating some play like this. And now these vultures are going to try and get around the top side. It looks like he may be able to find a tiny little break. Yes, does find a tiny little position, gets one probe. Will he get a second? He does, but the vulture do get cleaned up. And that, man, look at the economy now. Starting that command center in place. Perhaps a bit of desperation from Byul. He does know that Seok's entire army is pulled back, so he does have some room to grow and try and control this position. But we do see these high ground on this map, which I was mentioning, perhaps going to be an important area to control for either player. If a player can really take the opponent's high ground, it's going to be really difficult to defend that third. We see some Dragoons coming up to clean these vultures that have been placed here just to be annoying. Absolutely getting cleaned up, and we do see a probe ready to start that expansion. A little bit later for Seok, but Seok has had such an incredible economy so far, only losing a couple probes to that harassment, and that's going to be so important as he transitions into the late game. Byul did opt to make a Wraith. We don't see any shuttles coming out for Seok at this point, but that Wraith will provide some air defense if something like that were to occur later in the game. We are up to 5 gateways at this point. We see the obs, and oh my goodness, again, rushing for that really quick arbiter. So this is kind of what looks like Seok is comfortable playing with on a fighting spirit style map, rushing up to that arbiter off 2 base, adding that 3rd, and then having a gateway explosion. And we saw him in the last game add a 4th and a 5th very quickly after getting his tech and his 3rd base. So we're gonna have to see if he does something like that as well. So siege mode now just finishing at the 10-minute mark, so I love this. Terran players really wanting to delay siege mode these days. It is such an expensive upgrade. It's more gas than a factory, it's more gas than a tank. So the further you can delay that tech, the better it's gonna be for you. We do see this base getting up and getting SCVs. It looks like he scanned and was able to pick off one of those probes, but we do see the Maynard of probes now arriving at that 3rd base. And yeah, very few units. This is like a duct tape rubber band defense here from Byul. Now trying to create walls, and this is what he's going to have to rely on. Is I love the bunker placement. Actually, we saw him just move those Marines over to this bunker. Sometimes on Fighting Spirit you'll see Terran players add a bunker at that 2nd ramp, but in this case this map doesn't have a 2nd ramp, so this 3rd is a lot easier. It's even easier to take than Fighting Spirit. We know Fighting Spirit, it's quite easy to take a 3rd. So in this map, maybe just feeling super comfortable, he really only has to defend this high ground area and this one choke point, which is completely walled in. So Byul, I think, playing to the map's strengths, and he's going to get rewarded for it, because I don't think Seok is really going to be able to bust this area. Just bunkers, supply depots, engineering base, doing everything to block Seok from doing any kind of busting at that between the natural and the 3rd. It looks like he's sort of setting himself up to take a 4th base, and we did see that this is Seok's game plan. Get up to that Arbiter Tech and start mass expanding. I wonder how, oh my goodness, unfortunate, adding, look at how many gates he has. Oh my goodness, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 gates. He has to accidentally kill one, but that's just, we're playing ridiculously fast. We make silly mistakes like that all the time. Dragoons, looks like he wants to drop this 4th Nexus, and yeah, Seok, look at this turret ring. He is playing so defensively, likely to wall in the right side as well. He's up to about 67 SCVs, almost where he wants to be. Looks like +2 weapons is on the way, and starting that factory explosion. So we really see a repeat of the previous game with some slight variations, because Seok entered the mid game with a big economic advantage, and so we're really going to be able to see him transition into what kind of late game army he wants, because we know, look at the supply count right now, 43 supply ahead, and so he's going to really be able to do what he wants. In the last game he was maybe forced to play desperate, and in this game we really don't see him mass expanding like we saw in the last game, and it looks like he wants to get a little aggressive. So this high ground position going to play such an important role, although here comes the Zealot flood. Oh my goodness, it looks like he even has a recall here, and so the Zealots actually getting blocked in by the goons. He needs to create a path, and here they go, 3 tanks being stasis, and now these vultures are trying to get in, but these Zealots trying to get in, but these vultures are actually perfectly placed, well, almost to stop those Zealots from getting on top of the tanks, and now all of the tanks are actually getting cleaned up. He's going to have to siege some tanks on the high ground, and Seok trying to get up to this 3rd. Will he get there? He's running, but oh my goodness, these mines! Look at this mine placement from Byul. Thinking ahead perhaps to an Arbiter recall, but it's actually going to save him harassment at that 3rd. Great foresight from Byul, just mining up that 3rd already. And I guess he was right on time, right? Because we saw the Arbiter having energy for the stasis. And Byul holds brilliantly this high ground. Look at how powerful this positioning from the tanks, actually able to defend that ramp. And that is crazy. On Fighting Spirit, we see a lot more space between the ramp. And so tanks on the high ground are not nearly as effective as in this map. Now adding so many mines, he really doesn't want to get busted again. Rebuilding that wall, looks like he lost that engineering bay, and Seok is just persisting. So many gateways, flooding units. It looks like he's ready. Yeah, he's ready to take his 4th, 5th base, perhaps even, yeah, great placement from that goon, just completely preventing. But we do see a ton of vultures running in, so Byul wants to get something done, perhaps some harassment here, takes out a probe for free, and now going to be running in to the 4th base of Seok. Gonna just dive on some probes, which is, I think, totally fine. If we think about the economic position, maybe he wants to try and hinder it before it gets up to the max. And we actually see the supply count. Oh my goodness, how is this happening? Byul is actually getting ahead of Seok, and oh my goodness, are you kidding? He attempted to bust again, but everything falling apart for Seok at this point. It looks like I missed another attempt, but barely losing anything. It looks like he lost an eBay and a supply depot, another stasis going down, but only hitting 1 tank. And yeah, Byul is going to hold. So this is starting to turn violently towards Byul. I can't believe perhaps Seok persisting with a strategy too long and not really wanting to transition into the late game, wanting to bust Byul too much. And yeah, perhaps just tunnel visioning on this one attempt. But Byul looks ready. 2-1's finished. He's already unsieged his army, probably getting those hotkeys set up, and he's ready to move out. Oh my goodness. This is going to be brutal. The supplies are basically even though Seok has all these gateways. His macro looks great, but does he have enough to really stop a max push from the Terran player? 183 supply. Like I mentioned, +2 is already done, so Byul is ready to move. Oh my goodness. Adding those vessels, he even has that Wraith still. And this push is going to be so strong. We're going to have to see how he pushes. As a Terran player, I'd love to abuse this high ground. I'm not sure if Byul's going to try and attempt that. It looks like he wants to go along the west path, takes out an observer for free, and now Seok is scrambling, getting all his units ready to go. This choke is going to be really dangerous as a Protoss player. He really wants to get these units out of this choke, but Byul is rushing there, trying to plant mines along the flank. Sieges go up, the scan goes down. He does have a stasis. Oh my goodness, look at that stasis over so much of the army, and these zealots are actually getting on top of the tanks, so this engagement is great from Seok, but does he have enough? Look at the supply counts. It's really looking difficult for Seok. He does not have enough, and with these stasis, he's really just another stasis on the back tank. So many tanks, stasis 6 tanks, but he's not able to break the rest of the army. Oh my goodness, Seok is looking in big trouble. When this stasis finishes, this army's just going to unsiege and move across the map. Look at great play from Byul, adding that 4th base, just playing so solidly, now beginning to mine this high ground. He has taken additional bases over here in the bottom right, which is something we certainly saw in that first game, but Seok just does not have the army to really fight this. Especially look at this choke point. It looks just so brutal for a Protoss player, really perhaps wanting to swing around and engage from the side, but here we go. The EMP on top of the Arbiter. Arbiter goes down immediately, and now sieging up in this brilliant choke. These Vulture Zealots are going to get on top of the tanks, but oh, this mine does not go off, so almost a moment of luck for Seok. Could have perhaps done so much damage on these tanks, but it was not to be. Byul now forming a chokehold around this key area, and this choke is just going to be so brutal for Seok. He hasn't added additional gateways over at this other main, and so he is really in a tough position here. Bringing along those zealots, it looks like he's ready for another desperation attack on these tanks. He is getting on top of the tanks doing some splash damage and perhaps losing a few tanks, but oh my goodness, what are the reinforcements like? So much from Byul. Oh my goodness, this Nexus is about to go down, and if he gets on top of the gateways, this could spell doom for our Protoss hero Seok. He does have an Arbiter running up to the front. It looks like he wants to perhaps attempt some kind of counter recall. We do see this massive army still sitting at the choke, and it looks like Byul is happy to sort of take this choke and hold it. I don't think anything's getting through this minefield with these greatly positioned tanks, even an EMP ready to go, and Byul is now taking his reinforcements and running to the 5th, the 6th base of our Protoss hero, and this Arbiter perhaps looking to get something done, but no, the Goliaths actually find it and kill it. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Seok, seeing the writing on the wall, does GG. And that's it for our series today. Best of 3 between Byul and Seok. My name's Archaic for StarCastTV, and I hope to see you on our next Best of 3 show match.